Okay, welcome back to Askademic Basic English. This is video 6. Today we will be looking at some messages. Let's see how that goes. So let's start with a warm-up. So we have some pictures of some methods of communication below. I want you to try to match them up with the correct words in the box. See if you can label them correctly. I'll give you a second. Please feel free to pause the video. Okay, did you get it? Let's see. Here are the answers. So we have a letter, a phone, some email, a messenger, Morse code, and message in a bottle. What is a message in a bottle? Well, back in the day, if someone was trapped on a boat or if they were stranded on an island, they would put a letter, a piece of paper with a message in it, inside a bottle. You close the bottle, you throw it in the water, and you hope that the water takes that bottle somewhere where somebody can find it. So that's important because we have some messages in the bottle coming up right now. So today we will read 3 messages in bottles from 3 different people. So first we have Darren Mccaddy. This is from 2006. He was sailing from Texas to Argentina and he was reported missing in a hurricane. Also, we have Carol Beatty. In 1972, she was sailing from Australia to Los Angeles and her yacht hit a whale. My goodness. Never heard of that one before. And then lastly, we have John Benson and family. That was in 1981, sailing from Europe to Australia, and their sailboat sinks in a storm. So let's take a look at our first message in a bottle. And after, I'm going to ask you which person you think wrote it. So pay attention to some context clues to see if you can figure it out. Here we go. Help me, please. I am on an island east of New Zealand. The weather is very windy and there are big storms every day. There are some trees, but they aren't big, and there isn't much shelter. My boat's radio is broken. I have a lot to eat, especially coconuts and bananas. I miss my family and friends. There are no dangerous animals on the island, so I'm not frightened. Every night, I light a fire so ships can see me. I feel healthy, so that's good news. I pass my time by exploring the island and trying to build a raft to escape and return home to Melbourne. Okay, now as usual, I encourage you to pause and read it on your own to try to practice it yourself. Okay, so now that we read that passage, that message in a bottle, who do you think wrote it? Was it Darren Mccaddy, Carol Beatty, or John Benson and family? Pause for a second and see if you can figure it out. Okay, this message was written by Carol Beatty. We have a couple clues to help us. First of all, she writes about New Zealand, which is close to Australia, and also she talks about going home to Melbourne, which is a major city in Australia. So a couple clues to help us there. So also, we had 3 new verbs in that passage. So we had the verbs to see, to escape, and to feel. Now, if you don't know what those words mean, I want you to pause and look them up first. So now, I want you to look at the 3 sentences below and see if you can fill them in with the correct verb and see if you can fill it out in the right form as well. I'll give you a second to try. And here are the answers. So, number 1, I feel very hot in this room. I want to turn off the heating. Number 2, the windows are very dirty. I can't see anything. And number 3, if there is a fire, escape from the building using those stairs. Okay, and time 4, message in a bottle number 2. Just like last time, I will read it out loud. I also encourage you to pause and try reading it on your own. And once again, I will ask you to try to identify who wrote the message. So, let's read. Please help us if you find this message. I am here with my wife, Patricia, and 2 children, Beth and Mike. Our radio doesn't work. I don't know why. We think we are about 2,000 miles east of South Africa. We don't want to stay here. Every day we go to the beach and look for ships, but nothing comes. My children are very unhappy on the island, and they don't like living here. We eat tropical fruit, and there are some strange wild cows too. After 4 weeks here, we really want to go home to London. I hope someone finds this bottle. So, take a second and see if you can figure out who wrote this message in a bottle. Okay, this one is a little bit easier. John, Benson, and family. How do we know that? Well, in this one they mention the children and the other members of the family. So, good clue that it's John, Benson, and family. Now, once again, we have some new verbs that were used in that passage. So we have to find, to eat, and to stay. So, if you don't know any of these verbs, pause for a second to look them up. So, now we'll try to match them to the correct sentence. See if you can take a second to match the correct word with the blank, and bonus points if you can put it in the right verb format, the right conjugation. Okay, and here are the correct responses. Number 1, I don't want to stay at this party. I'm tired. Let's go. Now, notice that we have to stay in the infinitive format, we call it, to stay. Now, the reason why we have that is that we have the verb want before. So want to stay. We would not say want stay. So when we have one verb followed by another like that, you'll see the second verb in an infinitive. Now, number 2, I lost my keys. Help me find them, please. Number 3, we always eat dinner at the big table in the kitchen. My family used to do that growing up. Okay, and let's read our last message in a bottle, message 3. Just like before, I will read it out loud. I encourage you to pause and read it on your own as well. I will ask you afterwards who you think wrote this message. Here we go. I'm on a desert island in the Caribbean Sea. Please come and rescue me if you read this. I believe I am 100 or 200 miles west of Jamaica. I have my cell phone, but the battery doesn't work, so I can't use it. The island is tiny. There are a few banana and mango trees. I have a lot of food from the boat. My cat, Perkins, is here with me. He catches rats sometimes. He seems very happy here. The weather is hot and sunny, but I want to go home to Scotland. I miss the rain. Please tell my mother I'm safe and alive, and I want to see her soon. Oh, who do we think wrote this message? Let's take a look. That's right, it is Darren Mccaddy. So we know this from the reference to Jamaica, because that is in the Caribbean Sea and waters close to Texas. And quite simply, this is also the last option left. So good test-taking strategy there. So once again, we have 3 new verbs in this passage: to do, to read, to miss. Take a second if you need to look up any of those words. Now, Can you match them with the correct sentences below? Take a second to see if you can do it, and once again, bonus points if you can do it in the right form. All right, and let's see how we did. So number 1, do you prefer to read real books or ebooks? Once again, see how we have the infinitive. Prefer is a verb, and then we have to read following it. So instead of prefer read, it's prefer to read. One verb followed by a second verb means the second is in the infinitive, to read. Number 2, my mother always does what I tell her. My mother does not. Number 3, after 2 weeks away from my family, I miss them. So, I hope you did well with those new words. Feel free to try it again if you need some more practice. That's it for today. That was some interesting reading, a little bit difficult. I hope that you're following along well. Keep working at it. I will see you in the next video.